Have you ever looked at a truly exceptional individual, a CEO who seems to have endless energy, an athlete who remains calm under immense pressure, or a creative who churns out masterpiece after masterpiece, and wondered what their secret is? For a long time, the common consensus was that these people were simply born with it. We chalked up their success to a lucky roll of the genetic dice, assuming they possessed some innate genius or talent that the rest of us simply lacked. But what if that assumption is not only wrong, but is actually the very thing holding you back from your own greatness? The truth is far more empowering. High performance is not a gift. It is a discipline. It is not about who you are, but about what you do, repeatedly, intentionally, and with a high degree of confidence. This book is designed to pull back the curtain on the mechanics of excellence. We are going to move away from the myth of the natural and toward the reality of the practiced. You will learn that the difference between those who plateau and those who consistently reach the summit lies in a specific set of habits and a psychological framework that anyone can adopt. Throughout this journey, we will explore why personality traits are secondary to purposeful action. We will dive into the specific behaviors that allow high performers to maintain their edge year after year, even when the stakes are high and the pressure is mounting. You are about to learn how to audit your own life, identify the gaps in your current approach, and install the operating system used by the world's most successful people. This is not about working harder in a blind panic. It's about performing smarter with a level of clarity and confidence you may have never experienced before. By the end of this book, the path to the top will no longer be a mystery. It will be a roadmap that you are fully equipped to follow. To understand high performance, we must first look at it as a holistic system rather than a series of isolated tricks. This book provides a high-level overview of the themes that govern a life of excellence, moving beyond mere productivity tips to address the core drivers of human achievement. We will examine how the world's most successful individuals manage their internal worlds, their thoughts, intentions, and self-image, as well as their external worlds, their social circles, professional skills, and daily schedules. The main concepts we will explore revolve around the idea of deliberate practice, applied to every facet of life. We will look at how high performers seek clarity to avoid the autopilot trap that keeps most people stuck in mediocrity. We will analyze the relationship between energy and output, discovering why physical and mental fitness are not just nice-to-haves, but are essential fuel for the journey. We will also delve into the psychology of motivation, looking at how both internal desires and external expectations can be harnessed to keep you moving forward when things get difficult. You should expect this book to challenge your current way of operating. It will ask you to step out of the comfort of your routine and look honestly at where you are wasting time, where you are losing focus, and where you are playing it safe. The goal is to move you from being a busy person to being a high-performing person, someone who creates significant results while maintaining a sense of purpose and fulfillment. High performance is often viewed as a result of sheer willpower or a high-octane personality, but the foundation is actually much more cerebral. It begins with self-awareness. If you don't know who you are or what you are trying to achieve, even the most intense effort will be wasted. High performers possess a rare level of clarity regarding their purpose in life. They don't just wander through their days hoping for the best. They have a distinct vision that acts as a north star for every decision they make. Think about the last time you sat down to ask yourself the truly big questions. Questions like, how do I want to be remembered when I'm gone? Or what is the ultimate goal of my life's work? For the vast majority of people, these questions are reserved for milestone events. They might crop up during a reflective moment on a 40th birthday or while scribbling down New Year's resolutions that will be forgotten by February. High performers, however, do not wait for a calendar event to seek clarity. They make it a daily habit. This constant check-in keeps them goal-oriented and prevents them from drifting into the gray zone of life where days blur together without significant progress. When you have this kind of clarity, it transforms your daily experience. It provides a sense of direction and focus that acts as a shield against the trivial distractions of the world. You know precisely how your current actions are contributing to your long-term objectives. Conversely, when clarity is missing, people often find themselves mired in negative emotions. Without a why, the how becomes a burden. This lack of direction leads to sulking, frustration, and a sense of being stuck in a rut. To avoid this, you must work on the four primary fields of clarity. The first field is the asterisk self-asterisk. This is about knowing exactly what kind of person you want to become. High performers don't just want to be successful. They want to be the best possible version of themselves. They might define this version as being exceptionally kind, consistently attentive to their family, or remarkably humble despite their achievements. Once you define this ideal self, you must hold up a mirror to your current behavior. You have to ask, have I behaved like that version of myself today? If the answer is no, you don't beat yourself up. You simply identify what needs to change to bridge the gap between who you are and who you want to be. The second field is the social sphere ***. Most people operate on social autopilot. They go to meetings, attend parties, or have lunch with friends without a second thought about their contribution to the energy of the room. High performers are different. They are intentional about every interaction. Before they walk into a room, they ask themselves, how can I shape this meeting in a positive way? What energy do I want to bring to this conversation? They take responsibility for the weather they create in their social and professional circles, ensuring that their presence adds value rather than just taking up space. The third field involves skills ***. You cannot reach the top of any field without a precise understanding of which talents you need to sharpen. High performers identify a primary profession or area of interest and then ruthlessly prioritize their development in that area. They don't just get better at things in a general sense. They set aside dedicated time for practice while eliminating all distractions. Consider the example of an aspiring writer. A low performer might spend all their time reading books about writing, attending seminars, or talking about their process. A high performer, however, knows that the only way to become a great writer is to write. They set aside hours of uninterrupted time to actually produce prose, and then, crucially, they seek out feedback. They want to know exactly where they are failing so they can fix it. They understand that learning about a skill is not the same as practicing a skill. The fourth and final field is ***service***. This is perhaps the most overlooked aspect of high performance. True excellence is rarely a solo pursuit driven by ego. Instead, high performers are driven by a desire to give back. They work on behalf of others, their family, their community, or their customers. This external focus provides a level of motivation that self-interest simply cannot match. It gives their work a deeper meaning and creates a passionate drive that sustains them through difficult times. The fundamental question they ask themselves every day is, who needs me? When you realize that others are counting on your excellence, you find a reservoir of energy you didn't know you had. By mastering these four fields, self, social, skills, and service, you create a framework of clarity that makes high performance not just possible, but inevitable. One of the most common complaints in the modern workplace is the feeling of being busy, yet unproductive. We've all had those days where we feel completely run down, exhausted by a long list of tasks, and yet, when we look back at the end of the day, we realize we didn't actually move the needle on anything that matters. This is a classic sign of an imbalance between energy expenditure and actual results. It is the hallmark of the underperformer who confuses activity with achievement. High performance requires a different approach, the habit of increasing productivity through the ruthless separation of the important from the unimportant. This isn't about doing more things, it's about doing the right things. Underperformers often fall into the trap of prioritizing small wins that provide a temporary sense of accomplishment but have zero long-term impact. The greatest culprit in this regard is email. Research shows that the average worker spends a staggering 28% of their work week managing their inbox. Why? Because answering an email feels like work. It gives you a quick hit of dopamine to see a message move from unread to archived. But in reality, spending your morning responding to other people's agendas is often just a socially acceptable way of avoiding the difficult, high-stakes work that actually leads to success. High performers recognize this distraction for what it is and guard their time accordingly. Another critical component of the high-performance engine is the mastery of timing and deadlines. There is a fascinating psychological gap between how high performers and underperformers view time. Data indicates that underperformers are more than 3 times as likely to fall into what is known as the false deadline trap. This happens when you set a deadline for yourself that you know, deep down, isn't strictly enforced. You tell yourself you'll finish a report by Friday, but you know there are no real consequences if it slips to Monday. Because the due date is a preference rather than a must, your brain doesn't trigger the necessary focus or motivation to get it done. You become unproductive because there is no heat behind the goal. High performers, by contrast, are master planners who utilize clear and challenging deadlines to drive their performance. They understand that a visible finish line is one of the most effective tools for maintaining focus and fighting off the urge to procrastinate. When a deadline is real and challenging, it forces a level of concentration that open-ended tasks simply cannot elicit. The data is clear. A person who operates with a strict, challenging deadline will consistently outperform someone who has no such constraints, even if the latter person has more natural talent. However, we must acknowledge that some projects are so large and daunting that a single deadline feels insufficient. If you are working on a project that will take 2 years to complete, the finish line is too far away to provide daily motivation. This is where the strategy of subgoals becomes essential. High performers take these massive, long-term objectives and break them down into smaller, manageable chunks, usually 4 or 5 distinct steps that lead toward the final goal. By focusing on the next immediate milestone, you can maintain your momentum and keep your energy levels high, even when the final victory is months or years in the future. This approach to productivity, prioritizing high-impact tasks, avoiding the busy work of email, and setting ironclad, challenging deadlines, is what allows high performers to achieve in a month what others achieve in a year. It is about being smart with your energy so that every ounce of effort you put in results in a tangible move toward your ultimate vision. It requires the courage to say no to the unimportant and the discipline to stay focused on the vital few tasks that truly matter. As we come to the end of this exploration into high performance, it is important to remember the central theme. Excellence is a choice, not a birthright. We have seen that the individuals who reach the top of their fields are not superhuman. They are simply people who have mastered a specific set of habits. They are individuals who refuse to live on autopilot. Instead, they seek clarity in every aspect of their lives, defining who they want to be, how they want to interact with others, what skills they need to master, and how they can serve the world. We have also learned that high performance requires a strategic approach to productivity. It's about recognizing that being busy is often a mask for being unfocused. By eliminating distractions like the constant pull of the inbox and replacing them with challenging, non-negotiable deadlines, you can unlock a level of output you previously thought impossible. Breaking down your largest dreams into small, actionable subgoals ensures that you never lose the momentum necessary to cross the finish line. The most practical takeaway you can implement right now is to begin seeking clarity in your social interactions. Tomorrow, before you step into a meeting, a phone call, or even a dinner with your family, take 60 seconds to set an intention. Ask yourself, how can I be the best version of myself in this situation? What does the other person need from me? What kind of energy do I want to leave behind? This simple act of moving from autopilot to intentionality is the first step toward a high-performance life. Knowledge is only potential power. It only becomes real power when it is applied. The insights in this book matter because they provide the blueprint for a life of greater meaning, higher achievement, and deeper fulfillment. You now have the tools, The only question that remains is, will you use them? Start today, stay persistent, and watch as you perform your way to the top. For more book summaries for free, install Zyroverse.